Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how to create a pose using the BVH exporter and MyAniMATE LT. Okay, so the very first thing you need to do is you need to have an avatar in the scene, as long as it's a Second Life avatar, preferably one that's been, I think any Second Life avatar will do, as long as it has the right bones, the Second Life bones, but especially if you've myosterized it, it should work just fine. Okay, so we have our bento female here, and we're going to do pretty much a lot of the same things that we did before. Create a skeleton. We're just going to say yes, but this time we're going to click BVH. Okay, we want a HIK rig because we don't have our own rig. Otherwise, we'd click no rig if we didn't want a rig generated. It's very similar so far to the other one. I'm going to move this over so we can start on frame 1. Now, in the last video, I sort of rotated all the joints by selecting all of them and then making frame 1 with all the controls in different positions. And that made the avatar kind of go underneath here. Well, for BVH, it really hates that. What I would do is select the main controller there, select the hierarchy, and we're going to keyframe it. And these are just all the default, regular default. And click apply. Okay. And then we go to frame 2, and you start to pose your avatar in the pose that you want. Now remember, only the bones that have been moved from the first frame to the second frame have rotated or translated. We're just doing rotation translations on these. If the bone didn't move, it's not going to have an animation playing on it. So keep that in mind. Now, obviously, the legs have bent and the ankles have bent, and now the arms have bent. You know, the head hasn't bent, the neck hasn't bent, so those wouldn't have animations on them. So keep that in mind. You could go back to frame 1 and move some, but let's just do frame 2 here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select all the controllers, and I'm going to hit apply. Okay, and we'll go to frame 4 and hit apply. And if you scrubbing is when you hold down the mouse button. You don't see any wobbling or anything, so we don't have to put any more frames in here. Now, if you're afraid that, like I said, the neck didn't really move, just go back to frame 1. Whoops, sorry. Select the head controller and move it and hit apply. Okay, and now, so just make sure that if there were any that didn't, just kind of move it a little bit. Oops. Oh, that was the tailbone. I thought I'd selected that. You know. So just kind of move it a little bit just to make sure, and hit apply so that you're sure that all the bones have moved in some fashion from frame 1 to frame 2. Okay, so now that we have our animation created, or our pose created, frame 2 is our pose, 3 and 4. And then we go to our animation tools, exporters, 1.5. Now, in making this video, I realized somehow, I could have swore I had fixed this in previous versions. But if you're seeing 1.5 here and you're seeing these top picks and stuff, this is an older version of the BVH exporter that I thought I had fixed a long time ago and had updated, but maybe somehow I screwed up in the setup program and kept the 1.5 version in there by mistake. So, and because I had set this up a long time ago, just come to myastar.com, myastar downloads, and you can get the BVH exporter 1.5.5, which fixes a small bug in there, but also cleans up the interface a little bit. And 1.5.5 is for multiple avatars. That's if you're like doing a dance animation between couples. That's when you'd want to get this one. So this is for multiple avatars. If you're doing multiple avatars animations. But if you're just doing a single avatar with an animation or a pose, yeah, I'd get 1.5.5. But I am going to do it with this one. This one, it would happen is there was a weird thing is if you had taken the M-Pelvis controller and rotated it like clockwise or something, that it would have a problem with it. But for this particular pose, it will work. I will show you that it will work. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about picking anything. You do definitely want it to be on manual. Keyed range does not work for me. It's never worked for me. So always make sure you have it on manual. You need to export out the first frame, because if you only export out frames 2 through 4, none of the bones move. Nothing will be exported. So you need to have frame 1 in there. And I'm just going to do it to frame 4. We could do it to frame 3, or we could do it to frame 2 if we really wanted to. But it's such a short little thing. Might as well do all 4. It's no big deal. These, one's set on object, one's set on rotation. I don't believe these particular matter, but these are what the ones that are set up here. I've set the path to the desktop by clicking here. And I went to the desktop and clicked open. And then if you don't have a name here, put the name that you want it to be plus .bvh, and then just click apply. And then I have it in there already, but I'm going to say yes to overwrite it. Okay, so now I'm going to go into Second Life. And I had ignored. I had to find that. That page was the easiest way for me to find the page. Was to open up the download. That's an easy way for you to get to there. Is if just open up the download download link box in your MyStar folder, either for Mac or PC. It doesn't matter. We'll take you to the same page. Okay, and so if we go build, upload animation, there's the BVH, and I like Firestorm because it will actually show you, and it actually did play it, but a pose is a loop, and you're just looping it on one. And now I'm going to increase the priority, and I want to say from frame 2 to frame 2, and then play it, and there's our pose. And that's the pose we made. And you would give it a name, and then you would simply, well, we'll just call it BVH test, and we could say upload, and then we can open that up and play it in world, and there it is. There's our pose. Now if you get the, let's close this down. Hopefully Maya 2022 won't crash on me. I'm using Windows 7, and Maya 2022 is not really supported by Windows 7, so they didn't get all the bugs out, so sometimes it crashes on me. And so that's always fun. So if you get Maya 5.5, what you can do is you can download it from here, and I would rename it 5.5, and then just go into your scripts folder. Mine's here. It will come in and it will say MyStar this, and what you can do is you can let's do this by name. What you can do is you can put it in the scripts folder, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to rename it we can rename this original, just so that you always have it. And then you could rename this to 5. Okay? And then we can come back into here. And I believe you have to do rehash, but we'll find out first real quick. I'm pretty sure you have to do rehash, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. If we go to Animation Tools, Exporter, 5, see, oh, good. It did open up the new one. You notice how it's a lot simpler. Okay, if it doesn't open, if it opens up the old one, just go onto your mel command line and type in rehash and hit enter, and that will reload the mel scripts. But it did open up the correct one. That reloads the mel scripts, and so, but this did work, and you see it still says 5.5. So, okay. So, yeah, we say 1 through 4, all frames. This is if you have really long animation. I've went through this before. If you have really long animation and you don't want it to sample every single frame, you could say every other frame by putting a 2 in here, or every third frame, and that will cut down on the size of the file, because you're only allowed animations to be up to a certain file size. Anything over that, it won't do it. So you can cut down the same size of the file by changing to the sample rate to every other or every third one. And then we're just leaving these all the same, and so we'll just click apply, and we're going to say, well, actually, let's make sure it's different. Okay, just to prove that it's different. There we go. She's going, oh my, oh, what did you say? So we've had that keyed, and so I'm just going to hit S on the keyboard to key it, and let's then S on mine to key it. Maybe different on yours. We're going to go copy, and then we're going to go paste, and now it's been pasted. So now it's there. To find out, yours might not be S to do the shortcut. On mine, it is S. It is set to S. Sometimes it's set to home, so you'll have to look at that. But it's basically the same as if I had, if I can get it to do it right. Come on, sometimes these are so tricky. It's the same as if I had this open and clicked applied. Okay, so I'll save over that animation, and then we can come back here to Second Life, build, upload animation, BVH test, which is the one that we just did, and go frame 2. We can even do frame 4, it doesn't matter. Increase the priority. I think .anim you can set the priority higher than 4, but it's limit. BVH is limited. And so then if we play that, there we go. And that's the animation, and we say BVH test 2. See, there must be a higher priority animation plane. That's why it's overriding the hands. So one of the limitations of BVH is, I think, yeah, it has a maximum priority. I don't think we can set it up any higher than that. Let's try 6. Will it do 6? No, it will only do 4. So then we can upload that animation and double click, play in world, and there it is. Again, it's another animation that's playing that's a higher animation priority. That's, like I said, one of the bad things about BVH versus .anim. Most likely the other animation that was being played was uploaded using .anim files instead. That's why I've switched it over to basically all .anim. So awesome. Alrighty. That's how to do BVH files. If for whatever reason your .anim isn't working. So there are some advantages to BVH files. BVH files you can, well, let me show you. Let me go to my desktop and then open this up in, you can't see this, I'm working on another screen. I'm going to open it up in WordPad. Okay, so this is a .bvh file. This is one of the benefits of a .bvh file, is you can come down here. Once I find it, it's usually, there it is, frame time. You can change the frame time. I believe if you change the frame time to a higher number, it plays faster. You know, so if we were to change this to like 666, 6666, 4 sixes, it'll either play faster or slower. I can't remember. So this is one of the benefits of BVH, is you can change the speed at which the animation plays. So you can take a slower animation, or an animation that has fewer frames, but slow down the animation. And so you can make keyframes where there's bigger. Okay, so you could make keyframes that are farther apart, but then slowed. Like I could slow this animation down if I had and you can make it. How can I? Okay, I'm sorry, I get distracted. Okay, so you can make a shorter frame walk animation with very few frames, but then tell it so that it looks like it's walking very fast at normal speed, right? But then you can tell it, you can then tell it in the BVH file to play it slower, so that you can have a fewer framed animation played slower, and it will look okay. There's always limits, but you can tell it to, like I said, I think you either increase this number to speed it up and decrease it to slow it down, or it's just the opposite. I can't remember. So that's the benefit, is you can have, so you can make a really long animation much longer than 30 seconds. You know, and you can just, so that you can stretch it out and make it play for longer by slowing down the rate at which it's played. And so you can do that by editing this one little number right here. And so that's kind of one of the few benefits of a BVH. Is, like I said, you can have it played slower. And so it's kind of like if your regular walk animation was 20 frames long, to get it to play normally in Second Life, well, you can get it down to 10 frames. Move all the keyframes. So if you had a keyframe on 1, 4, 8, 12, every 4, and you had 40 frames, well, you could then cut those in half by slowing down the playback speed to half, and then you would just move the keyframes. Instead of 4, you'd put it to 2. Instead of 8, you'd put it to 4. You'd squish everything into 20 frames instead of 40 frames, and then you would just have it play at half speed. And so now you have an animation that loads faster, and that is actually smaller because it's fewer frames. Now, they might get fewer frames also means it might be a little more jerky. It won't be as smooth, but you'd be surprised at how much slower you can play an animation and it not look really jerky. So that if you had a dance animation that was only 20 frames, it will load twice as fast as a dance animation that is 40 frames, basically. It's going to load faster, it's going to start playing faster, and so so that's one of the few benefits of BVH. Alrighty, well, this has turned into a 20-minute video. So, but at least, that is BVH, and it does work with the same rig as you saw. I used the MyAniMATE LT to create the rig and all that, which is a much better rig than these, to animate the male or the female. These animation rigs are not good at all. You can't copy and paste from them like you saw before, that I did. So they're not easy to work with. Like I said, these you can't copy and paste the frames. You can delete frames, but you can't copy and paste them. You might not even be able to delete the frames. It's been so long. So these rigs are not that great at all. I always recommend using the rig that you can generate, control rig that you can generate from MyAniMATE LT. And you can see it works just fine. And so awesome. Alrighty. Well, I hope that helps you guys out there with some animations. If you do want to use BVH animations, like I said, there are some good things about BVH animations. So awesome. Well, have a great day, and we'll see you soon.